Chapter 1653. Not giving? The African-American brothers snorted and immediately took action. You're really not good enough. Before he could say the word Dow, the person who reached out shouted, sh*t. It was really painful, so painful that his expression changed. Let go. Let go. Chinemo glanced at him and looked down coldly. Your attitude isn't right. The black brother's face had never been as white as it was now. Wasn't this type of Oriental pretty boy easy to deal with? Why did it have to be this one? Who was even more ferocious than the demoness who left? At least the demoness wouldn't really make a move. She wouldn't care about her attitude. But it was really painful. It was useless even if a few of them attacked together. This person couldn't possibly know martial arts, right? When the black brothers thought of this word, they looked at Yun-Hu in a different light. There was fear, but now there was a little bit of worship mixed in. He leaned against the wall shivering. After Chinemo fought, he would tidy himself up. His aura didn't change. It wasn't suitable for him to appear here like this. Most of the people who came to the gray area, whether it was from their clothes or appearance, belonged to the dark side. But this person was like a god in white who broke into the demon world. Even if it was dark around him, it didn't affect his elegance. The more they looked, the more the black brothers felt that this man wasn't simple. And Chinemo didn't hide himself at all. He stood in front of one of them. What did she take from you? The same question. This time the black brothers said everything they knew. They spoke in a foreign language. In the blabbering, there was only one meaning. The demoness has taken a fancy to a pretty boy. That pretty boy is probably resisting too much. The demoness wants him to be willing. Once he loses the ability to resist, she will be able to do whatever she wants. Pretty boy? Chinemo was good at catching the main point. His voice was slow. How do you know that he is a pretty boy? The black brother had the right to speak. Needless to say, the demoness looks at looks. She always likes those with fair skin. She doesn't want white people, those with Oriental beauty, just like. At this point, the black brother paused. Just like you, and really if the demoness saw you, she would definitely snatch you home. Isn't that right, brothers? The few beside him nodded in unison. Chinemo arched a brow. Are you saying that I'm a gigolo? The black brothers. That was what they thought in the beginning, but now, they didn't dare to say it. He really regretted learning some adjectives from Huaxia. It was too much of a trap. This matter must be explained clearly. No, we're talking about the one that the witch took a fancy to. That was just an example. Chinemo straightened his back and suddenly changed the topic. Oh. However, the thing she wanted was indeed used on me. What? The African brothers were stupefied. Their faces were stupefied. Their eyes were rounder than ever. Did he mean that he was the gigolo that the demoness wanted? What was the witch thinking? Although the flower was beautiful, it was prickly. No wonder he came to ask for something from them. Apart from the demoness, no one would dare to have any ideas about such a person. It was too terrifying. Especially why hadn't he left yet? Chapter 1654. Most importantly, even though the demoness was a little evil, they were still on the same path. They could still bargain. Who was this person? What did he do? They had no idea. Where did the demoness find such a person for herself? Did she know that he was like this? Could it be that he was bewitched by the other party's face? The black brothers thought about many things. Chinemo opened his mouth at this moment. His voice was calm. Do you have a girlfriend? They shook their heads. Girlfriend? They had many mistresses. They had never thought about a formal girlfriend. Chinemo continued. Indeed, it's hard to understand someone without a girlfriend. I can only say that when she woke up today, she didn't have so many thoughts. After seeing you guys, she got some medicine to use on me. There's an old saying in China, after something happens, think about the bigger picture. The black brothers weren't stupid. Even though this sentence was a little roundabout, they understood it. This person was saying that the demoness was like this because of them? Bro, you must be joking. You saw how we were threatened by the demoness just now. Chinemo didn't think much of it. You guys can discuss how to solve the problem of the source of supply. If she has any messy things on her next time, I will probably look for you guys. In the future, if there's anything else, please remember not to lead her astray." The Black brothers widened their eyes. Who? Who led her astray? Raising the demoness like a child? Bro, touch your chest. Have a conscience, and tell me who led who astray. They really couldn't compare to the demoness in certain aspects. But at this point they understood. At first they thought that the demoness found a gigolo. Now it seemed like a gigolo. He was simply a demon. Because of this, the others who wanted to make a move before Z got up suffered. They didn't even get a chance to skip a beat. He asked his underling. The underling held his head and said to the boss, "We really can't, especially in Chinatown. The man beside Z is too difficult to deal with." "How can Z have a man?" The boss was indignant. Another underling lowered his voice. "She really has one. He seems to be related to the police superintendent. His men are everywhere. It's not easy to deal with him. Then give some money to the Chinese forces. What's wrong with that? He seems to have more money and is good at using guns. In addition, Z's intuition is too good. We can't take advantage of him at all. Boss, let's stop. It's not bad to be like before. Just don't let us sell people from China and the hackers' information. Z doesn't care about anything else. It wasn't easy for him to be free for 3 years, but he had to start following the rules set by others again. The boss would definitely feel uncomfortable. But that person was too strong. He was so strong that the entire Fifth Avenue didn't even dare to violate his bottom line. You can make money, you can even gray, but some cannot be touched. Everyone must abide by. This kind of control came again. However, on second thought, they weren't the ones who would be affected the most. After all, according to Z's style of doing things in the past, she would only imprison those who were beasts in human form. As for them, as long as they didn't provoke the other party, they should be fine. The most important thing now was who exactly was the man Z was keeping. Yu Cixin was right. If those two joined hands, it would only be the others who would have a headache. In the afternoon, outside the church. Chapter 1655. It was impossible for Z to be completely obedient. Since young, Bojio had been trying her best to take advantage of little Princess Qin. Now that she had gotten her hands on her, she could take advantage of her openly. How could she give up the chance? When Lin Feng walked over, he saw the devilish smile on her face. He didn't know what bad things she was thinking about. "Little Spade, tell me, what are you thinking about again?" Bojio kept her things and stuffed one hand into her pocket. Her eyes were dark. "You won't understand even if I tell you. Senior, why did you call me yesterday?" Lin Feng remembered the question he wanted to ask last night, and changed the topic. "I just made a call. Where's your disciple? Why don't I see little poker face?" Bojio saw through his wavering gaze and her smile deepened. "Don't change the topic with my little Mo Bay. It seems like something happened, Senior." Lin Feng knew Little Spade. If he didn't tell her something, she would be more interested. He arched a brow and said generously, "It's nothing, I just suppressed someone I wanted to." Bojio arched a brow. "Bragging again?" "What do you mean bragging again? Am I someone like Xiao Sampang?" Lin Feng scoffed. "You can ask Yinhu if you don't believe me." Bojio looked at his guilty expression. It was different from his usual guilty expression. It seemed as though it really happened. She arched a brow and smiled. "Almighty Yin is really going easy on you." Lin Feng smirked. "Who's going easy on who? I'm the one going easy on him. You don't know how weak he is. He can't handle me at all." "Oh." Bojio was nonchalant. "It seems like this is the only time." Lin Feng said righteously. "You don't understand. I dote on my wife." "Bojio. Who's whose wife?" "Naive and sweet." But even so, such a person was willing to lie down for him. That was enough to show their relationship. Hence, in such matters, being naive and sweet wasn't bad at all. When Lin Feng was talking, he liked to place his hand on Bojio's shoulder. After he started his business, he rarely did this. Yinhu watched from the side. He liked a person not because of his appearance but because of him. Regardless of what he had experienced, he was still a youngster at heart. When the group of people walked over, she heard Lin Feng teaching Bojio how to dote on his wife. Little Mo Bay carried her school bag and walked over. There was no expression on her face. Senior Lin, if Master's wife sees you like this, you will suffer again. Little Mo Bay, you mustn't listen to Captain. Look at Captain, other than Little Spade, who else can touch him? This is fundamentally wrong. Good friends should put their arms around each other's shoulders for the relationship to be good. Didn't your master tell you to smile more and not be so expressionless? Little Mo Bay didn't know that Lin Feng was the only one who could touch her. I don't have facial paralysis. Little Mo Bay stood beside Bojio without any expression on her face. Lin Feng couldn't hold it in for a long time. This isn't facial paralysis? Ha 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 ha. I'm dying of laughter. Little Mo Bay didn't say anything because her master was touching her head. He was watching a group of people fooling around. He felt that this was good enough. Although Senior Lin wasn't a reliable person, but some of his words were still true. If she could make friends in the future, she would try to get closer to people. Chapter 1656. Just like that. Little Mo Bay's way of interacting with others had been completely led astray, but it was also very blissful. Because she was too young. She wasn't an official member yet. She learned more than others. Because there would be Ren School nearby. There were many places to visit on Fifth Avenue. The exotic atmosphere was being traversed by this group of people. It was like a scene that would only appear in a comic. Everyone had a different style and personality. After leaving the chaos, life would become very simple. With this group of people together, how could they not play games? Video games were included. Coco was catching plush toys. He was really trying his best, but he couldn't catch a single one. Bojio pushed him away, biting a lollipop. She controlled the game handle and lifted it up. A plush came out. Lin Feng, who had long legs, was also catching. Yin, who was standing beside him, and Rao Rong. The four of them stood in a row. Lin Feng familiarized himself first. Then it was almost the same. Once he took action, there would definitely be a plush toy coming out. Very quickly, this place became a scenery. After all, there were four handsome Asians and they were so good at catching plushies. It was really eye-catching. Other professional players didn't know. However, the four of them would usually train in terms of angle and strength. Other than Bojio, who frequented such places, the other three basically could get the hang of it after trying. More and more people surrounded them. Bojio definitely caught the plushies for her disciple. Lin Feng casually threw them into Mo Bay's hands. Rao Rong and Yun, who were the same. Mo Bay was almost buried by the pile of plushies. This was probably the strength of the group pet. Shui Yaoyao watched from the side. She raised her hand and took a photo. Because she knew that they would be separated in the future. That was why she would cherish the days together. Her fingers swept across the screen. That devilish back view couldn't help but lift the corners of her lips. Perhaps no one would understand. Her youth was so dazzling because she had been with such a group of people. She used to be too ordinary. She was so fat that no one would ever notice her. After knowing this group of people, it seemed that no matter what she encountered in the future, there would always be something buried in the depths of her heart. She continued to walk and work hard. Even if she had to walk the path of becoming a person, she wouldn't be the same as before. She wouldn't be so timid and afraid to express herself. Supreme Alliance had taught her courage. In everyone's eyes, they were different. Shui Yaoyao could hear the laughter around her, some complimenting their looks, but most of them were surprised. If he continued to be arrested, the boss's business would be ruined. It just so happened that the captain had come at this time. She stretched out her hand and pulled down her collar. She didn't join the team to catch the dolls, but used a sentence to send Mo Bay away. Go catch a few and practice your control of the angle. When Almighty Qin said this, his face was noble and indifferent. In reality, after Mo Bay left, he stood beside Bojio and took the plush toy that the person had brought over. He lowered his lids and smiled. You seem obedient today. Good every day. Bojio replied calmly. Brother Mo, which one do you want? I'll catch it for you. Qin Mo didn't expose her about the black brothers. He glanced over, his eyes calm. That little tiger? Bojio arched a brow. Chapter 1657. Bojio's slender fingers paused for a moment and she smiled. Next, they were all tigers. Chin Mo had a noble and scholarly aura. Now that he was holding these plush dolls, it didn't affect him much. However, there were more people watching. After all, it wasn't appropriate for a grown man to hold so many dolls. It wasn't like Mo Bei's age. Even if she was smashed by a bunch of plush dolls, it wouldn't seem too out of place. Chin Mo was still wearing a beige trench coat. It was hard not to take a second look when he held these things. This was also because he was good-looking. Just a smile would make him feel comfortable. Some foreign children saw it and started to surround him. They probably wanted a doll. Chin Mo didn't give any of them. He simply handed the game tokens he bought to the children and let them catch it themselves. Mo Bei watched from the side. She more or less understood that master's wife never shared her master's things with anyone. Otherwise, she wouldn't have let her catch the dolls herself to practice. Bojio, on the other hand, was satisfied. A certain someone was even more beautiful than usual with the plush doll in his hands. She would catch a few more. In a short while, the 7 tigers were all caught. Bojio wanted to change the machine, but Chin Mo held her wrist. If you continue to grab like this, the boss will come over. Did you tamper with these machines? I just made them return to the mode when they first appeared. Bojio was serious. You need to be capable to catch the dolls. Oh, Chin Mo asked. Then tell me what their normal mode should be like. Bojio retracted her hand. You can't even make your boyfriend happy by catching a doll. The success rate of the normal mode is 1 in 10. You can only catch it once out of 10 times. Even if the technique is right, if the frequency isn't right, it will still fall. Seeing that your boss didn't chase you away, you are quite tolerant. Chin Mo was indifferent. Is it normal now? Bojio really couldn't pass his eyes no matter what she did. She took out the foldable keyboard from her pocket and connected it to the internet. She adjusted the frequency. The switch of some machines was at the back. It was the manual type. She didn't know how to use it usually, so she just adjusted the system. But these were all small matters. Anyway, she had to do something big at night. After they stopped catching dolls, the group found a coffee shop by the street and filled the chairs with plush toys. Coco suggested with a straw in his mouth. Let's play a game. We haven't played together in a long time. It had indeed been a long time since they had played together. Lin Feng couldn't appear now. Once he did, all sorts of topics would come up, asking him to explain. He had been working for almost half a month and hadn't touched the game. When he heard Coco mention it, his fingers paused. I don't want to fight. Lin Feng smiled and pulled his collar. Rao Rong knew what he was thinking. There was a period of time when he didn't want to enter the game page. From high to low, then from being ostracized by everyone, and then back again. He really liked her and didn't want to let go. Not all wounds could be healed. There were many things that no one would understand even if they were explained. You just want to play. Some people don't think that way. Chin Mo should be aware of this. That was why he told them that the team would be disbanding soon, and the news hadn't been made public. But everyone could feel it. It couldn't change public opinion. This was the general trend. He just didn't want to be influenced and assimilated. If the Supreme Alliance was no longer like the Supreme Alliance. Chapter 1658. Coco regretted his suggestion a little, but Lin Feng acted as though nothing had happened. He was still playing with his plush toy. He didn't play games anymore because he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to let it go if he met it again. He probably still felt regret. But sometimes in the group chat, Zhao Sampeng no longer called himself the most handsome person in the world on livestream. Instead, he would call people over for a meal every day, insisting that he had researched a new dish. The picture he sent was actually an eggplant pot. It seemed like the most ordinary life. But there were still people who would dig for information about him. Lin Feng didn't care. He just needed to make up for the losses the Lin family suffered because of him. This was probably his goal in life. He used to be fearless. Now he was afraid that the truth would never be seen. He who had lost his courage would never be the same as before even if he picked up the mouse again. Because the important people were gradually retiring. All he could do was cherish them. The news would never stop, being created and reinvented, adapted and rewritten, using everything. In reality, the things behind were too dark. In this world, as long as you felt that what you did was right and what you presented was right, it didn't matter how despicable your methods were. No one would think too deeply about it. After all, it was complicated. Lin Feng couldn't forget why he joined the Supreme Alliance. Because there was a person here. Even if the world was chaotic and he had suffered a lot, he wouldn't become the kind of person he didn't want to be. Lin Feng smiled, his gaze landing on the cold and elegant figure. Was this the reason Little Spade liked this person so much? How many people in the world could maintain the same state of mind? Incorruptible to darkness, immune to poison. Their captain seemed to just stand there. It made people feel that the future was bright. A dazzling person never stayed in a greenhouse, ignorant of the world. But his heart had come into contact with all the darkness. But he insisted on the path he wanted to follow. As long as the Supreme Alliance was still in his heart. As long as there were people who were sad and felt that they couldn't walk out of it, they would be filled with strength when they thought of this name. The rest didn't seem that important. That day, the group went to many places. They even took many photos. When they left, they didn't turn back. Only Mo Bei was there, carrying a small school bag, looking at the person who still had a wanton smile on her face. She knew that her master would only be overseas in the future. The only thing he felt upset about was, he had never fought with this person on the same battlefield. After all the Supreme Alliance members returned to China, the first thing Feng Yi wanted to announce was the disbandment of the team. He was still dressed in a suit, with gold-rimmed glasses and a smile on his face. No one was willing to accept the news. The doubters were still doubting. Someone even said, "Supreme Alliance is different to me. I don't want to be a fan of these players anymore since they were disbanded for no reason." No matter what it was, Feng Yi just listened and didn't say a word after listening. It would definitely set off a wave of discussions. There were those who understood and those who did not. Feng Yi wasn't worried about anything else. Before he returned to the country, Z had talked to him and asked him to make arrangements for Tiny. With the little guy's strength, he should be able to enter any team. It was just that it was too chaotic at this time. The Supreme Alliance disbanded. Teams of imitators popped up endlessly. Chapter 1659. In the end, someone said that it was impossible for a gaming team not to know about Supreme Alliance. It was impossible for the champions of the Asian Cup not to know. The other party would say, "Oh, I just checked and found out. What does it have to do with us?" Feng Yi had expected such a situation. Probably no one would understand. If he really liked her, he had to restrain himself. The other party made use of emotional impulses to create opinions and create topics of discussion. Mo Bei looked at the 2 days after the Supreme Alliance disbanded. She had been dealing with such matters almost every day. She made the decision to not join any team. Hence, when Feng Yi wanted to bring Mo Bei to the club under the group, Mo Bei lifted her little face. "Uncle Feng, I joined the Supreme Alliance because of you guys. Now that the Supreme Alliance has disbanded, I want to learn a skill that I can use in the future." Feng Yi paused and looked back. "You don't play games anymore?" Mo Bei hummed in acknowledgement. Feng Yi wanted to say something. However, Mo Bei spoke before him. "With me here, there will only be more discussions. It's good that Elder Lin and Master are like this now. Because of me, Uncle Feng has to continue to be busy and deal with these topics." Feng Yi pushed his gold-rimmed glasses up his nose. "It's not as complicated as you think. I saw it all." Mo Bei's gaze was deep. "Now there are people using Supreme Alliance to talk about things good and bad, imitating and belittling it. I thought people who like it would differentiate and tolerate it, but now I understand that these are forcing people against their will, because people will be impulsive because they like it, and those invisible things will slowly brew." Probably because she wasn't old enough, Mo Bei furrowed her brows when she said this. Her little face was clear and indifferent. "It's very complicated." Feng Yi lowered his lids. "It would be a pity if you don't play professionally. There are many people who aren't suited to be professional players, but are clamoring to play professionally. However, This is the first time I know that you want to learn skills other than gaming. Mo-Bei didn't speak. She was still carrying a school bag on her back. Feng Yi chuckled. With young Master Qin and Z tutoring you, your studies shouldn't be too difficult. My mentality isn't good. Mo-Bei's face was rather serious. I want to calm down. Feng Yi really laughed this time. Your master is right, little old cadre. What technology do you plan to learn, chef? Mo-Bei looked up. Cooking is the same as playing games. It can make people happy. Feng Yi's gaze was indifferent, as though he wanted to smoke. I can handle the current situation. You don't have to make such a decision now. Little one, you have to believe that your Uncle Feng can still fight. I believe you. Mo-Bei's voice was a little low. Captain, he disbanded the Supreme Alliance because he didn't want to fight anymore, right? If we continue to fight, we will only disappoint Senior Lin and the others. Captain wants to keep the things in their hearts. Feng Yi's back trembled. After a long time he said, don't be against playing esports just because of this. I won't. Mo-Bei's small body stood there with her back straight. I like to play games. I like to follow behind Master. I like to be with Senior Lin and the others. I don't have any conflicts because that is playing esports. Now that Master and the others are tired and want to rest, I want to rest too. Feng Yi's phone was ringing. The contracted team was rushing him. Have you really decided? Feng Yi asked. Chapter 1660. Feng Yi tugged his collar and sent a rejection message to the other side. Bei's official appearance was also temporarily cancelled in the afternoon. No one knew what the Supreme Alliance's pet looked like. The only thing left were some videos of Bei's game characters. When she walked out of the club, Mo-Bei didn't bring anything with her. Instead, she placed the keyboard that she had been carrying on her back in front of a seat. When she heard that the Supreme Alliance had disbanded, the little princess of the Yin family, Yin Shen, ran over to accompany her little friend. Because she knew that Mo-Bei wouldn't feel good. This kind of thing couldn't be let go just because she said so. It was raining and the screen was still playing the Supreme Alliance's video. Yin Shen asked the driver to stop the car, and saw the figure standing by the side of the road. She raised her head and looked at the screen in the square. Her eyes chased after the figures. Many years later, perhaps no one remembered them, but she remembered. That pair of burning eyes started to bury her emotions bit by bit. She said that she wouldn't play games anymore. At that time, she was too young and her eyes were red. Yin Shen didn't understand anything, but one thing was clear to her. No matter what decision anyone made, it was to protect. When the decision to disband was made, Qin and Mo told Feng Yi, depending on which team they wanted to go to, whether they wanted to stay in the industry or do something else, they could find the corresponding company. After being a professional player for so many years, everyone had their own savings. There wasn't much to worry about in this aspect. Only Rao Rong didn't have any funds, but the things that he knew were incomparable to ordinary people. Lin Feng had asked him to be the product technical director several times. Uncle Ian had even thrown the internet cafe to him. Rao Rong basically had to busy himself here and there. But that face didn't change at all. When he smiled, his eyes were half-curved. When he didn't smile, he was cold and handsome. After everyone took off their uniforms, they didn't touch the mouse or keyboard again. We always had a kind of panic. We were afraid that we would become the most inconspicuous one among the masses. We were afraid that mediocrity would wear away our youthful spirit. Only later did we realize that those things were under our eyes. But because we cherished it too much, we would use maturity to explain it. Yao Yao was one of them. She was different from before. Many teams would come over to poach her and offer a high price. She didn't agree. University was about to start. Life would definitely be different. Because they were going to change cities. If she stayed here, she would always think of the days when she went to the internet cafe with Coco and the others to get instant noodles. In the past, Yao Yao's academic results were above average, but ever since they went to tutor together, she directly ascended. Sometimes, she would always think of that silver-haired youth with a lollipop in his mouth and a book covering his face. Occasionally, he would be hit by the captain. Then, he would find an excuse not to do the physics questions. With a handsome face, he would walk over to her, point out the mistakes in her answers, and teach her a simpler way to solve the questions. The day before Shui Yaoyao left the Jiang family, it was the official transfer of power by the Jiang family. In other words, the entire Jiang family would be inherited by Jiang Zhua. Therefore, many people came. For such a grand occasion, brilliant lights, fine wine, and delicacies were all indispensable. There was very low clear music playing at the scene. This time, the commercial atmosphere was quite strong. Chapter 1661. Jiang Zhua wouldn't agree to such a thing. He stood there shaking his wine glass, looking a little unapproachable. Many people said that Jiang Zhua had changed. Because in the past, young Master Jiang was basically the type who would never be touched by a single leaf. He would never be cold to a girl. Like a central air conditioner? But it didn't have the temperature of a central air conditioner, and was just a polite rejection. To a certain extent, he was considered a scumbag. But some rumors couldn't be trusted. Even though Jiang Zhua was a scumbag, he had never been close to her. Now he seemed to have something on his mind and wasn't even paying attention. Father Jiang walked over helplessly, not knowing what to do with his son who had been estranged since a long time ago. You have to meet her. Father Jiang lowered his voice. Business is business. Jiang Zhua was still cold towards his father. Why? You want to sell me? The Jiang family doesn't need such a model anymore. I see that you have been in a bad mood recently. You are really. Father Jiang didn't know what to say and tilted his head in anger. Jiang Zhua paused. Why don't I see them? Don't you dislike seeing your auntie? She is upstairs with little Hung. Yao Yao is leaving tomorrow. Father Jiang sighed. Dad's things will be yours in the future. I didn't let your mother down. I am really old and don't want to be alone in my old age. Jiang Zhua glanced up. How do you explain what happened previously? Father Jiang drank a mouthful of champagne. I was promiscuous, but not when your mother was sick. Why don't you believe me? When she left, I felt worse than you. Jiang Zhua didn't speak. Once his mother left, this man quickly found someone. That was the truth. Father Jiang knew what his son was concerned about, and didn't defend himself. Perhaps even he felt that he was a scumbag. He had liked someone so much before. But less than a month after she left, he liked someone else. Maybe he was too lonely then. But regardless of the excuse, it was irreversible. This has nothing to do with your auntie. She just wanted to start a family when she met someone. Jiang Zhua looked at his father. If you say it has nothing to do with it, then it has nothing to do with it. When you rebuilt your family, did you think about what you destroyed? All the good feelings he had for her. Everything was gone. She and her family were the thing that broke it all. That was why he did what he did at that time. Because this person would never think of those who went to heaven again. In this world, he was the only one who remembered that before she left, she told him to listen to his father. Hence, Jiang Zhua couldn't forgive her. Even if he regretted it, it was useless. Perhaps I'm the same as you. Who asked me to be your son? We're both scum. Jiang Zhua chuckled and walked over. Father Jiang was even more worried. Recently, his son was no longer rebellious, but was unbelievably quiet. What exactly happened? Jiang Zhua just found it boring. His father said that he loved him. But when he held his new son, he smiled more happily than anyone else. There seemed to be a kind of stubbornness that only single-parent children could understand. However, such stubbornness would often hurt oneself. No one noticed how lonely Jiang Zhua was as he walked on the dance floor. Chapter 1662. Every freshman was more or less the same. During the summer vacation, while completely relaxed, there was also an indescribable sense of loss. His high school life was finally over. Those test papers that he wanted to finish day and night. Sometimes when reading a book he would touch the table with his head. It was a very ordinary life. But because in those bits and pieces, there was the shadow of an important person. The day before he left, he had to pack his luggage. Shui Yaoyao looked at the black and red uniform. Her fingers paused for a moment before she hung it in the innermost part of the wardrobe and put it away. Mother Shui was very reluctant. Why do you have to go so far away? It's not like we don't have good universities here. Shui Yaoyao smiled. It's more professional there. Mother Shui knew that it wasn't because of this that her daughter chose to study in another city, but there didn't seem to be any reason to stop him. After all, she knew in her heart that after marrying into the Jiang family, she as his daughter, would be the one who would be slandered the most. After Shui Yaoyao took her things, she planned to go to the base. She wanted to spend her last day with Coco and the rest. It was said that Coco would be leaving soon as well. He wouldn't be competing anymore, and would be going back to inherit the family business. In the future, it would be in a different city. She was fine. The place she went to was a coastal city in the south, and the students didn't feel much pressure from the competition. It was hard to imagine Coco in a suit. Shui Yaoyao smiled and picked up her luggage. Considering that there were too many people in front of him, he took the back door. Mother Shui and Yaoyao's little brother saw them off from behind. However, he didn't expect the two of them to go up. At the corner, Shui Yaoyao saw the figure leaning against the wall. After seeing her, Jiang Zhua glanced over. The two of them had not spoken for a long time. Now that they were standing face to face, they felt like strangers. But Shui Yaoyao was really different from before. It seemed that the embodiment of maturity was that even when facing the past, you could still act like an adult. He greeted her calmly. Because in this relationship, you're not the one with regrets. I'm going, Shui Yaoyao said with a smile. Jiang Zhua clenched his fists and replied faintly, MMH. Shui Yaoyao took a step forward. The moment they brushed past each other, his wrist was grabbed by someone. It's not like there aren't good universities here. When Jiang Zhua said this, his voice was hoarse. Didn't I arrange it for you? If you want to hide from me, there's no need to go to another city. That contract is over. What else do you think I will do to you? Shui Yaoyao paused. To a certain extent, she understood Jiang Zhua. After all, she used to know what he was thinking. In this situation, he was merely trying to keep her. Shui Yaoyao was indeed a little surprised, but there were other emotions. It's not because of you. I've really lost a lot of weight. In the past, I didn't even dare to think about it. You guys are all amazing, the kind that you were born with, but I'm different. My family background and appearance are so ordinary that I can't be any more ordinary. I'm even known as the damned fatty in people's mouths. A long time ago, I really felt that hard work was useless. I liked to fantasize that I was Cinderella who would meet her Prince Charming. It wasn't until I met that person that I realized that I had to drink more poisonous chicken soup. She said that she was obsessed with appearance. If you can't even maintain your best condition, how can you let others discover you? She said that there are always some things in this world that you have to do by yourself. I understand now. If you want to be outstanding, you can't blame others. Chapter 1663. Jiang Zhua had never felt the need to let go as he did now. Actually, it wasn't impossible to stop her. She cared about her family the most. He just had to make use of this. Jiang Zhua had been a businessman since he was young. Lingering in the bushes and scheming was similar to Feng Yi. But at this moment he let go. When he turned his head, his voice was low. I'll get the driver to send you. Okay. Shui Yaoyao didn't argue since it wasn't easy to get a cab here. Jiang Zhua didn't send her off because he knew that if he followed her any longer, he would do something he would regret. But the confident her was so beautiful that it made him feel uncomfortable. University life. How many people would he meet? The moment he thought of this, young Master Jiang, who had always been a strategist, couldn't remain calm. He watched as the car disappeared into the night. Jiang Zhuai slammed his hand into a tree beside him. His knuckles were broken and blood flowed out. But he didn't seem to notice it. If the butler hadn't come out to tell him that he was going back to cut the cake, he wouldn't have known that his young master was injured. Oh my God! The butler inhaled sharply, hurrying over with a cloth to bandage the wound. Jiang Zhua took the cloth and wrapped it around a few times, his emotions calm. It's okay, go in. Young master. The butler was still worried, but he understood why his young master was like this. To him, if one didn't understand a person's life, they wouldn't understand why they had such thoughts. The original family had left a deep mark on them. No one had taught him what to do when he liked someone. that made him feel that love was the most useless thing in the world. If not, why would he find someone else? And not long after Madame passed away, the more one cared about relationships, the more they would be stuck in a dead end. He really needed someone to soften him up. The butler knew that Miss Yao Yao was the most suitable, even though their statuses weren't suitable. But to reorganize the family, they weren't related by blood. If Miss Yao Yao could forgive his young master, that would be great. In the past, when he had sent his young master to school, he had interacted with Miss Yao Yao. At that time, young master was very concerned about him. Although he didn't say it, he would always take an extra portion of breakfast, saying that fat people eat more. Others might think that he was mocking them, but those who were familiar with the young master would know that he would never say such words to someone he didn't care about. At that time, young master's personality was already very gentle. It was probably because she couldn't accept that Miss Yao Yao's mother had become the new madam. Many people said that they needed to be understanding, but no one understood young master anymore. The butler heaved a long sigh. At the party, everyone was clapping and smiling. Jiang's was sliced the cake with one hand. Was his life going to be like this? Every day when he woke up, he would be on guard. There would be no shortage of people by his side, but he could no longer feel anything. The other side. I heard Yao Yao is going to study in another city. The #1 RMB player in Zone C, Feng Shang, bought a lot of bags for her. Coco commented, shallow. Then he pulled the rabbit behind him and put it in Yao Yao's hand. In the future, let my little brother accompany you. This is not mine, I want to hug it to sleep. You don't need to worry, it is not dirty. Chapter 1664. You make it sound as though you haven't eaten it before. Coco glanced over. It was always lively when they were together. Now that Uncle Ian had gone out to play, the responsibility naturally fell onto Rao Rong. But compared to Uncle Ian who would cook noodles for them, Rao Rong was much more violent. He rolled up the magazine and knocked on it, still smiling. Can you guys send Yarao off happily? It really hurts. Coco covered his head. If I'm not smart, who am I going to look for? Rao Rong adjusted his clothes. Look for your parents to inherit the family fortune. Coco. Can we stop talking about this topic? Rao Rong chuckled lightly, raising his hand to pass the things he prepared to Shui Yao Yao. Medicine bag, healing type, you will need it in school. You're playing as a sorcerer, and you even want medicine bags in real life. Coco couldn't prove his existence if he didn't ridicule him. But Coco's level wasn't enough for Rao Rong. Looking at the commotion in front of her, Shui Yao Yao knew that even after some people left, they wouldn't forget each other in their respective fields. When we were young, we were always anxious to grow up. We thought that once we grew up, we would have the ability to solve everything ourselves. But once we entered university, we would understand. The road beneath our feet was never simple. There was separation, darkness, unexpected encounters, and a future that couldn't be seen even if we lifted our eyes. But even so, we had to continue on. That was Shui Yao Yao, breaking free and starting her university life. Before she left, she met someone who used to like Jiangzhua at the high-speed rail station. That person said lightly, Supreme Alliance disbanded. Let's see who else will support you. Shui Yao Yao looked at him, her eyes turning darker and darker. When it reached a certain level, she didn't say a word, just pulling her luggage and brushing past him. There were too many feelings, some people didn't understand, so she didn't say anything. In her heart, Supreme Alliance had never disbanded. The only one. An irreplaceable existence. That youngster with the devilish smile, she would remember him the moment she closed her eyes. The way he ate hot pot, the curve of his lips when he played games, and even when he stood in the darkest place. Even when he lost, the light in his eyes never extinguished. It was as though he was telling everyone, we can make a comeback. Shui Yao Yao glanced at the scenery outside the car. Liking seemed to never be fixed. Shui Yao Yao knew that very soon, there would be a new team. People's attention would be placed elsewhere. But at the same time, she believed that for some people, Supreme Alliance was a memory etched in their hearts. She left. In the car, Jiangzhua lowered his head. His hair fell down and covered his eyes, making it impossible to read his emotions. The housekeeper looked at the young master who didn't have much energy today and sighed. Yes, Miss Yao Yao is already in the car. Jiang's slender hands tightened, and then loosened. His Adam's apple moved as he said with difficulty, "Let's go." Okay. The butler started the car. Jiang's took out his phone and opened the profile picture. In the end, he didn't send a message wishing her a safe journey. Instead, when she saw that Qin Mo had decided to stay overseas temporarily for the sake of a certain someone, her eyes flashed. Chapter 1665. The next day. It was sunny. See University. Compared to the north, the air was much more humid. When Shui Yaoyao alighted from the car, she realized that there were many kapok trees here. They couldn't be seen in the north. See University was famous for its greenery. It was known as one of the most beautiful campuses. Half of it had mountains and half of it had water. Film crews often came here to film. No one here knew who Shui Yaoyao was. It wasn't that Shui Yaoyao didn't have fans, but not everyone watched esports. Moreover, Shui Yaoyao changed her hairstyle and lost 5 to 6 kilograms compared to the last time she competed. University started and everyone who experienced it knew. There were many seniors welcoming the new students. Of course, there were many cars at the school gate. Most of them were sent by their parents. There were also those like Shui Yaoyao, who came with their own luggage. But after a few steps, from afar, she heard someone say, Junior, you came alone? We are here to welcome the new students. Let me carry your luggage." Shui Yaoyao wanted to say no, but the person didn't even give her a chance to speak. "Don't be so polite, just call me senior." With that, he revealed a row of white teeth. He was handsome and bright. Shui Yaoyao thought that this should be normal university life. "Thank you." "You don't have to. We welcome the new students to provide convenience for the juniors." The person was still smiling. A guy rushed over. "Only for the juniors? You don't care about them? This junior is alone." "I don't believe you. You must think that she's pretty. It's wrong of you to think that way." "That's what I thought. I'll send her." The guy snatched the luggage and smiled at Shui Yaoyao. "Junior, where are you from? You don't have a boyfriend, right? You must be single since you're so pretty. F***ck, you're too much. It's rare for a pretty girl to come and you want to interfere." The more Shui Yaoyao listened, the more she found it interesting. She lowered her lids and smiled. The two of them were stunned when they saw that smile. They had just been far away when they saw this girl. Carrying a suitcase, she walked straight ahead with a smile on her face, looking very gentle. Nowadays, there weren't many girls like her. Even if she was like a green tea, she would still be likable, right? But when he saw her smile, he felt that she was not green tea. Green tea should be blushing at this moment. Seeing that they were looking at her, Shui Yaoyao said, "I can carry the luggage myself. There's nothing inside, and I'll just follow the crowd and I'll be able to find the girls' dormitory. I won't trouble you guys, thank you." He left just like that. The two of them looked at each other and were about to step forward. He heard a voice by his ear. "Who's that?" "Who? A new junior? Wait, F***ck, it can't be. OL4, don't tell me you're interested in her?" That person glared at him. The girls of C University will cry if they find out about this. The newcomer smiled. When the corners of his mouth curled up, there was a hint of coolness. "It's incredible that I'm interested in people. No, this new junior sister is indeed pretty, but you don't even pay attention to our school bell. Why are you interested in her here?" Chapter 1666. Yaoyao didn't know that someone was interested in her. She pulled her luggage into the dorm. University dorms were usually for 4 people. There were 2 layers of beds and a common desk near the window. Southern universities had a strong design concept. Some new dorms would be like graduate dorms. Each bed would have a small table that could be stretched out. Shui Yaoyao looked at the bunk beds that were completely different from high school. She truly realized that this was the start of her new life. The moment Shui Yaoyao came in, a cute girl on the upper bunk said, "Wow, another pretty girl came in. Our dorm room is really pretty." "Beauty?" Shui Yaoyao had never been called that before. But she couldn't deny her beauty after losing weight. After hearing that, Shui Yaoyao couldn't help but laugh. Senior Lin Feng used to say, "Little Spade, let's form a boy group and debut. Since we're so handsome, let's bring Zhao Sampang along. He'll be in charge of praising our boy group." Senior Lin Feng used to say, "Little Spade, let's make a debut as a boy group." With that thought, Shui Yaoyao paused, not allowing her thoughts to continue. She lifted her head and looked at the girl. "Hello, I'm Shui Yaoyao." "I know." The girl with the doll's head glanced over. "There are names here. I'll stay on the upper bunk. Li Tao, you can call me Peach." Shui Yaoyao chuckled. "Peach. Beautiful, you're too beautiful." Li Tao chuckled. "I'm going to the school's website to sign up. By the way, our pretty dorm is super high." "That's not a good idea." The girl who had just made the bed wore glasses and was very artistic. Who would praise their own dorm? Peach, stop fooling around. Yu is right. Li Tao was naive. "Then shouldn't we go to the dorm for a meal on our first day?" The girl named Yu nodded. "That's possible. What about Yao Yao?" Li Tao tilted her head. Shui Yaoyao smiled. "I'm fine too. I can head out after tidying up. Then we're left with our goddess Zixian." Li Tao lifted her head, looking at the girl who was doing makeup in front of the mirror. "Are you going?" Zixian turned around. She was indeed beautiful, with an indescribable temperament. "Of course. That's great. Let me see if there are any recommendations on the school's website." Just like every girl entering college life, Shui Yaoyao listened to the chatter in the dorm and began her most ordinary life. It was different from how he used to look forward to playing another match every day. Now there seemed to be a sense of a long and thin stream of water. Generally speaking, there were many small restaurants near the university. Especially in the student city, there were many restaurants with good food and reasonable prices. Li Tao quickly locked onto one of the restaurants because it was decorated in a small and clean manner. It was also a place to eat skewers. The school website said that this restaurant is really good. Most importantly, handsome guys and pretty girls love coming here. Li Tao winked at Shui Yaoyao and the others, reaching out to push open the door. Needless to say, it was indeed very popular. In addition, there were many new students today. It was their first day meeting each other, so they all wanted to have a meal together. The weather was hot. Of course, it was better to eat in an air-conditioned place like this. Therefore, there were even more people. "We won't have to queue for a long time, will we?" Chapter 1667. Shui Yaoyao turned her head and smiled. "Senior." Yaoyao turned her head and smiled. "Senior." Shui Yaoyao turned her head and smiled. "Senior." That person wasn't anyone else. It was the first person Shui Yaoyao met when she entered the school gate. "Your dorm." Shui Yaoyao nodded. The person laughed. "It seems like all good-looking people stay in the same dorm. For example, our dorm is the same." Hearing his words, Li Tao and the others laughed. "You can't find a seat, right? Junior, wait a moment, I'll talk to Four." "No, let's sit together," the person said quickly, turning and walking over. Li Tao asked, "Yaoyao, this senior is so funny. How do you know each other? Were you friends before?" "No, he's the senior who welcomes the new students." Shui Yaoyao was impressed by his friendliness. He was indeed passionate, but also interesting. Li Tao nodded and then blinked. "We just met once and he's already so close." "Yaoyao, could he be?" She didn't finish her sentence. A voice came from the other side. That person waved his hand. "Junior sisters, come over here. We can make a table for 4 more people. You girls are thin, so it won't take up too much space." No one didn't like such words. Not to mention the cheerful Li Tao. Even the quiet Ayu couldn't help but laugh. "Are we going?" Shui Yaoyao still had to ask for her roommate's opinion. Even though the girls had different personalities, they were all quite generous. "Of course. Let's go." Shui Yaoyao started walking. It wasn't a big deal, but when they were about to reach the table, Li Tao suddenly exclaimed, "Oh my God, why is it him?" "He who?" Ayu asked. Li Tao didn't dare to point. Look at the most handsome person sitting at the table. He's C University's famous school hunk. He's a first-class protected animal. Not only is he good at everything, he looks like a celebrity. I was just looking at the school's website. I didn't expect the heavens to let me see him in person. Hearing Li Tao's words, the others all looked over. The quiet Ayu blushed. I've heard of him too. He's 2 years older than us and has always been quite popular. School hunk Lin Yang. Even the professors like him. The one in the white shirt. After Zixian sized him up for a while, she smiled and said, he does look good. Does he have a girlfriend? Zixuan, why are you so direct? Li Tao lowered her voice. I can tell you that he hasn't. Senior seems to be quite busy recently, and hasn't been particularly close to anyone. Shui Yaoyao was amused by their conversation. After all, when he was with that person, no matter how handsome a guy was, no one would look at him. His gaze would only land on that person. Amazement seemed to always be used to describe that person. Silver hair, arrogant handsomeness, lazy and gentle. It could be said responsibly. After seeing such a person, it was rare for Shui Yaoyao to think that someone was stunning. As time went by, he became the least excited one. However, it could be seen. The person sitting at the dining table was not bad-looking. Even in such a noisy environment, he had his own aura. Chapter 1668. The senior on the other side said, Old Four, I brought him here. What did that mean? Li Tao and the others exchanged glances, feeling that those words were a little ambiguous. All right, sit down quickly. Be careful that number 4 doesn't guide you through the information. Lin Yang just smiled and looked up at Shui Yaoyao. Our dorm is more lively. Talk to Yaoyao alone? Zixian basically understood. She nudged Li Tao with a smile. Li Tao was enlightened by Zixian, the love expert. The two of them exchanged glances, and felt that there was a chance. The skewers went into the pot. The boy was indeed cheerful. Let me introduce myself. I'm Zhang Yang. As for the other 3, I have to brag about my number 4, the school treasure. C University has a lot of information about him. You can go take a look. Li Tao said softly. I've already seen it. Zhang Yang laughed. I don't need to say more. Isn't he handsome in real life? He can sell his photos, right? Brother Zhang. Lin Yang glanced down. This person was much more restrained. Whereas number 4, he gets shy easily. Let's talk about something else. Oh right, where are you guys from? Lin Mao. Huaijing. Local. Jiang City. After Shui Yaoyao finished speaking, Zhang Yang knocked his head. Jiang City. Why does it sound so familiar? You must be kidding. How can it not sound familiar? It's obvious on the map. Junior, why didn't you study in Jiang City? Why did you come here? After all, the admission cutoff for C University and that school shouldn't be too far apart. Shui Yaoyao chuckled. I've never left home before. I wanted to try living independently. You have an idea? Zhang Yang tilted his head and looked at Lin Yang. Just like our number 4, his family is local, but he insisted on staying in school, saying it's to train himself. Lin Yang didn't retort this time. He was still smiling. Zhang Yang felt that it was rare to see him so satisfied with a girl. He began closing the distance between them with all his might. Shui Yaoyao listened at the side, occasionally placing the skewers into her bowl. She recalled the time when a group of people ate skewers, drank wine, and dipped into hot pot. That person took care of her. There were many. He helped her snatch the meat, helped her hide the wine bottle, and finally propped up the side of his face. The tears under his eyes were clearly visible. These because many things were gone. Shui Yaoyao always thought that starting a new life was what she wanted. But gradually she understood something. She wanted to go back to that time. Indeed, every day was tiring. But that group was there. No matter what they had encountered. No one would believe what could be said, and what could be said. Might as well keep silent about the past. None of them seemed to be able to withstand it. To be able to fight together. To see that person moving the mouse, tilting his head and smiling. She could be considered a qualified fan. Not just to His Highness Jiao. It's the same for those people. He left in such a hurry. She didn't even tell them. In the eyes of others, You are part of Supreme Alliance. So many people would say, anyway, I don't like Spadesy, it's fake. Or rather, Lin Feng didn't even reply. How disappointing, but that didn't stop me from liking Supreme Alliance. Lualua was like that. Otherwise, why would she retire and so on? There were also so many people who said that this was the best team, that this team contained their youth. But she only wanted to say one thing. Even if you lose your brilliance, return to the most ordinary life. Even if you don't play games anymore, become ordinary in the vast sea of people. Chapter 1669. This meal of skewers was not without effect. Anyway, it had successfully closed the distance between the two dorms. Junior, you can look for 4 for academic matters, don't stand on ceremony. That's right, don't stand on ceremony. The two of them had spared no effort to be 4's godly support. The rarest thing was that in the past, 4 would just give them the cold shoulder when they said such things. But this time, it was clearly allowed. When they reached the dorm, Li Tao said, Yao Yao, let me tell you, our school hunk is definitely interested in you. Shui Yao Yao didn't deny it. Li Tao was stunned. Shouldn't you say that it's impossible and that I'm just imagining things? Shui Yao Yao was conflicted. Do I have to say that? Zixian didn't have a good impression of the people in the dorm, and felt that they hadn't experienced much. Now that she heard Shui Yao Yao's words, she smiled and leaned against the wall. No girls have a sixth sense. If you say that, it will only prove that you're shy or you saw through it. I thought you were shy, but it doesn't seem like it. Shui Yao Yao chuckled lightly. I can feel it, he wants to pair me up with Senior. Then what do you think? Li Tao was dumbfounded by the unconventional dialogue. This wasn't how she usually spoke in comics. Shui Yao Yao glanced up. Me? I don't have any plans to date, I want to study first. Yao Yao, you're joking, studying in university. Li Tao had a look of disapproval. Haven't you heard of this saying? If you don't date in university, you are wasting your youth. Zixuan also agreed with this sentence. Don't date? Study? I just praised you and now I want to say. Fake. Shui Yao Yao continued her sentence and smiled. It's probably because my life plans are different. I really don't want to date right now. I want to enrich myself. Now that I've chosen this major, I'll probably be busy in the future. If I meet someone suitable, I won't reject him. But that'll be 2 or 3 years later. Li Tao paused. Life plans. Honestly, she couldn't continue the conversation. After all, they had just started university, and today was their first day of school. Wasn't it too early to talk about life plans? Yao Yao, where did you come from, old antique? Li Tao buried her head in the blanket, looking very cute. Shui Yao Yao also teased. Indeed, you youngsters can't learn it. This sentence made everyone in the dormitory laugh again. From this, other people also really realized, Yao Yao really doesn't want to fall in love. How should he put it? At his age, he was good-looking, sincere, hardworking, and had a long-term plan. It was really hard to hate him. Buzz, buzz, Li Tao's phone vibrated. She glanced at the screen and said to the others, It's a senior. He's asking if we want to play games. He even said that his 4th brother is really good at games and can carry the entire game. With that, Li Tao's eyes lit up. That's great, I'm lacking an almighty to carry me. Senior said that he and the school hunk will carry us, one against the assassin and the other against the tank. How about Yao Yao, are you coming? I saw that you have Hero on your phone. Chapter 1670. It's okay if it's average, there's someone to carry it, what's there to be afraid of? Li Tao touched Shui Yao Yao's arm. Shui Yao Yao shook the toiletries in her hand. You guys play, I'm going to shower. Then we'll wait for you. Li Tao looked at her back view and smiled. Zixian spoke up. She doesn't want to play, there's no need to wait. She doesn't want to play with the school hunk around. Li Tao shook her head. As expected, am I the only one who looks at looks? Zixian took the mirror. Not necessarily, but I haven't seen many girls with Yao Yao's temperament. I can only say that this time, the school hunk is probably going to fall for her. Her words came true. That day, when Lin Yong saw that Shui Yaoyao wasn't among the people he played with, he wasn't very interested. The other people in the dormitory were also surprised. This junior isn't tempted by our fourth brother? Is she playing hard to get? Big brother, playing hard to get isn't used in this situation. I think she just isn't interested. Yes, she definitely isn't interested. To be able to see fourth brother being rejected in my lifetime. This feeling is really too. F***ck wait, what happened to my laptop? F***ck. Lin Yong smiled, but there wasn't much joy in it. You talk too much. I talk too much? I think I've poked your sore spot, fourth brother. Lin Yong looked at him with a smile. That person was a little afraid and changed the topic. Oh right, fourth brother. I've found the part-time employee you asked me to find. Don't worry, there will be people coming with such a high price. I'll find a suitable one now. No need. Lin Yong lowered his eyes. I found it. Found it? Ooh. Did fourth brother see any gaming expert recently? Lin Yong didn't speak. When he was sleeping, he was disappointed. But there was something he was concerned about. He could go and talk to her tomorrow. Hence the next day. There were some waves in the library. It was because when Shui Yaoyao was reading, Lin Yong sat next to her. He was caught off guard. Hence, when Yaoyao looked up and saw him, her fingers paused. Senior? There were already people whispering to each other. Lin Yong held 2 cups of coffee in his hands. He pushed one of them to Yaoyao. It was obvious that he didn't do these things often. I hope I didn't disturb your reading. Shui Yaoyao listened to the discussions around her and hesitated for a moment before saying, it seems like it's still affecting him a little. This way, there was no ambiguity at all. Lin Yong smiled, clear and clean. I want to talk to you about something. Shui Yaoyao couldn't think of anything that would make him look for her. Lin Yong looked at the increasing number of people in the library. After some consideration he said, let's go somewhere else? Okay. Shui Yaoyao also felt the pressure of being surrounded like this. After the 2 of them left the library, they went to the shadow of the tree by the lake. Because it was quite hot. Walking by the lake was better than sitting. At least there would be wind. Chapter 1671. Why are you looking for me for such a thing? Shui Yaoyao had been in the Supreme Alliance for a long time and followed Foxfeng. She could basically hear the hidden message behind a sentence. Lin Yong looked at her. Because no one is more suitable than UNC University. After all, you are a professional. As expected, you know. Shui Yaoyao's gaze was indifferent. I refuse. Lin Yong smiled, not in a hurry. Yaoyao, have you ever thought that it would be a waste of your talent if you don't work in the game industry? You can be a game maker if you can't play games. Many people feel that games are useless when they talk about games. The Tetris we played when we were young is helpful for intellectual development. Currently, there might not be such a game in the country, but rather than handing the things you like to unreliable people, wouldn't it be more reassuring to do it yourself? Shui Yaoyao had never heard such an argument. She retracted the steps she was about to take. She seemed to be thinking. Lin Yong stood beside her, his voice calm. I like to watch the Supreme Alliance compete, from its creation to its disbandment. When I entered school, I thought that if one day, the things I created were given to these people, I would feel very honored. Games shouldn't make people overly addicted. If we can insert some textbook knowledge and add questions and answers from an angle that everyone is interested in, would that be a way to start from interest? Lin Yang's gaze stopped on the lake. These are all things I want to do in the future. Every time I feel that I'm being whimsical, I will go watch the Supreme Alliance's competition. No matter what I encounter, I will continue and not give up. Even if countless people say it's absurd, it doesn't matter. Shui Yaoyao trembled. Her long black hair was blown by the wind, revealing her eyes. Lin Yong. To become outstanding in their respective fields, this is the way I like the Supreme Alliance. Do you want to use this method too? Shui Yaoyao was convinced. Completely and utterly. She was even more determined than before. When she didn't want to touch something again, it was because that group of people were no longer around. She turned to the backstage to think if it was possible they could meet again. Many years later. Just like that, Shui Yaoyao became a game tester. When Lin Yang brought her over, she was really dumbfounded. For come over, come over. Lin Yang arched a brow. What? Come here first. Lin Yang said helplessly. Don't pull my clothes, say it. Then I'll be direct. The man took a deep breath. I've always felt that you're a cold and steady person, right? Lin Yang let out a heh. Don't be angry, don't be angry. I mean, we all agree that you should take the initiative to chase after girls. After all, there aren't many girls that you like, but you can't bring dating into work. This is a very serious issue. Lin Yang glanced at Shui Yaoyao, and then shrugged off his roommate's shoulder. Don't spout nonsense. How am I spouting nonsense? That person looked at Shui Yaoyao. Junior, in order to chase after you, Old C really put in a lot of effort to bring you to the studio. Oh my god, I can't even imagine it. Shui Yaoyao lied. Senior, I actually wanted to tell you yesterday that I have a boyfriend. Not only that person, even Lin Yang's fingers paused. The man coughed twice to ease the atmosphere. This script doesn't seem right. Chapter 1672. Shui Yaoyao's words successfully resolved the awkwardness. That person sighed again. This girl wasn't bad. She wasn't a little green tea. Unfortunately, she wasn't interested in him. Since she wasn't interested, why was she here? All right. Lin Yang moved his hand away. Stop playing, let me introduce you. This is the new beta tester I found. From tomorrow onwards, we will work together. Beta tester? Lao Si, are you crazy? Really, if Junior Yaoyao hadn't said she had a boyfriend, I would have suspected that you recruited her to eat grass near your nest. Yesterday, Peach said that Junior's gaming skills are average. Girls' gaming skills are average. Do you know what that means? Shui Yaoyao was curious. What does that mean? Scam. That person turned and wanted to shake himself off. Junior, I'm not saying that you're a scam. I mean, the job of a beta tester isn't for humans. The hand speed is very strict. At the very least, you have to be a gaming almighty who hasn't cheated before. In reality, Shui Yaoyao's hand speed wasn't fast. In Supreme Alliance, her standard was average. But everyone knew that she put in the most time. Hence, she didn't have to worry about the hand speed of a professional player. I can do it. Shui Yaoyao said these 3 words. That person gritted his teeth and didn't speak. Lin Yang interrupted him. You two play around. Me and Junior? Solo? That person waved his hand. No, I'm not as crazy as you to be alone. It's my gentlemanly character to not play against girls. Lin Yang snickered. The man immediately changed his mind. Are you going to use your phone or your computer? Phone really, if it's a mobile game, at least Junior knows how to run the map. Computer. Shui Yaoyao chuckled lightly. Only client-side games can test the hand speed. Really? Lin Yang arched a brow. Why? Afraid of losing? Ha 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 ha. I'm afraid of losing to a girl. For are you kidding me? Just based on what you said, I have to play to my standard. Hence, he turned on the computer and logged into the game. 20 minutes later, he lost. That person looked at the results on the screen and didn't even want to get up. Who told him that little sister Yaoyao's gaming skills were average, and that her conscience wouldn't hurt? He had been thoroughly abused like a vegetable. Senior, did I pass the interview? Shui Yaoyao took off her earphones. Her side profile was beautiful. I didn't just pass. Let's discuss something. Junior, please don't tell anyone that you defeated me. I also want to pursue a girlfriend in university. The person raised his head. Halfway through his sentence, he looked at Lin Yang and suddenly remembered something. You told me yesterday that you found someone, is it? It's her. Lin Yang continued his roommate's words. That person's eyes widened. No wonder they felt that he was interested in Junior Yaoyao. It turned out that he had discovered a talent. That's not right. How do you know that Junior Yaoyao is good at gaming? Lin Yang glanced at Shui Yaoyao and didn't explain further. I saw it by chance. I know. Is it like in the novels, where you go to an internet cafe and see it? Yes. How generous. Shui Yaoyao held back her laughter. Indeed, Boys read romance novels too. This made sense so that she didn't have to explain some things. Lin Yang was also helping Shui Yaoyao hide her identity. Chapter 1673. The job of a game tester was indeed suitable for Shui Yaoyao. It wasn't just the job itself, but also the emotional sustenance. Since she was in the team previously and there were many guys around her, it wasn't difficult to get along with her seniors. As for her identity, no one knew about it. This was probably the beginning of a new beginning. But there were still other things that happened. For example, she was the only girl in the school hunks project. And she was a freshman. There would always be gossip in the eyes of others. Just like in novels. The next day, Shui Yaoyao was about to go eat with her dorm mates when she was stopped by a third-year senior. Which one of you is Shui Yaoyao? There were 3 of them, each with a good aura. Li Tao tugged at Yaoyao. Shui Yaoyao smiled, looking up. I am. Let's have a chat? One of them smiled, giving off an artistic vibe. Normally, ordinary people wouldn't reject it. In addition, the people next to him also recognized who this person was. Li Tao was familiar with her. That was why she tugged at Yaoyao's sleeves. According to the school website, this was the C University's celebrity most compatible with the school hunk. When Wanqing, be it in appearance or family background, and the 2 of them had hosted the freshman party together. It was said that they had a good relationship in private. She was probably the only person who could talk to the school hunk. Hence, the school website said that they were a couple. When they first arrived, Li Tao would definitely believe such gossip when she saw it. But now, the school hunk was obviously chasing after her Yaoyao. Unless the school hunk was a scumbag, otherwise, this artistic lady in front of her was just wishful thinking. Wishful thinking was too easy to go to extremes. Li Tao was anxious for Yaoyao to leave with someone else, and was about to speak. Shui Yaoyao smiled. I'm sorry, senior, I have to go eat with my friends. If there really is something, can we talk about it directly? When Wanqing had probably never met someone who rejected her so directly, her gaze paused on Shui Yaoyao's face. The other person beside her laughed. There's something wrong with the freshmen this year. You still don't understand anything. Our art department is looking for you and this is your attitude? Shui Yaoyao looked at that exquisite face. When she was in junior high, it wasn't like he hadn't encountered such a situation before. Because of Jiangzhua, she had been talked to like this before. After experiencing such a thing, she would subconsciously feel inferior when she saw such a beautiful girl again. No matter when. Just when she thought this was the end of her life, a better-looking person appeared. When she wore the school uniform, she looked like a handsome young man. When she wore the black veil, she looked like a witch. She was extremely beautiful. The difference was no matter what she looked like. She would stand against the light, bear everything, and not give in at all. Shui Yaoyao understood one thing. If you wanted others to look up to you, the most important thing was to look up to yourself. It had nothing to do with looks. It's that you can see through these people. No matter how beautiful her skin was. It was just skin. Chapter 1674. That person narrowed her eyes. There was a commotion not far away. It's the professor? Who's the person beside him? I don't know. Oh my God, he's so handsome. Didn't the professor say that there would be a teaching assistant coming? Could it be this one? Before they could finish their guesses, when Wanqing had already realized that she couldn't continue asking. It's not as serious as you think. It's just that the art department thinks that you're not bad and wanted to talk to you about joining the club. Since you're not willing, we won't force you. After saying this, when Wanqing walked forward with her people. After all, this was a first-year building. It wasn't appropriate for third years like them to stand at the door. It would be fine if there weren't so many people watching. It wouldn't be good if they attracted the professor's attention. And everyone's attention wasn't completely focused here. Because the topic of the new teaching assistant is very handsome, had sparked a discussion among the freshmen. Shui Yaoyao was eating with Li Tao. As someone who was dedicated to researching the school's website, Li Tao was very interested in this new teaching assistant. He's really amazing. It's been spreading like wildfire, but there isn't a single photo on the school's website. Li Tao held her chopsticks in her mouth and looked at the tray in front of her. Yao Yao, who do you think this new teaching assistant is? He managed to keep it a secret so well. Shui Yaorao ate a mouthful of rice and chuckled. He's a teaching assistant after all. He's getting to know the professor first. No one would dare to take photos, right? That's true. Li Tao admitted but added. It's not that they don't dare to take photos, it's just that there aren't any photos. But there's one thing, no matter how mysterious this person is, he can't beat the girls in our school's search for a handsome guy. Shui Yaoyao was helpless. What kind of adjectives are you using? It's true, don't doubt me. The school's website said that the new teaching assistant isn't simple, otherwise, it's impossible that they couldn't find anything. He must have some background. Li Tao said logically. More importantly, those who have seen this teaching assistant said that in the future, our school hunk won't be able to keep his position. Shui Yaoyao put down her chopsticks. Looks handsome. He's more than handsome. When he's wearing a teaching assistant's uniform, and his eyes are raised into a smile, it's easy to guess which family's young master he's from. His flirtatious look is all over his face. Shui Yaoyao stood up and smiled. You're reciting a poem. I'm telling the truth. Li Tao also cleaned up the table. Oh right, are you going to school hunk senior brother's place to continue working? Shui Yaoyao replied. Because it wasn't convenient to talk about some things, she told her roommates about her current job. The new teaching assistant will follow the professor there in a while. Li Tao hurriedly caught up with her. The school website said that he's very interested in your project and wants the professor to take him to take a look. Shui Yaoyao let out a long sigh. You even know what he talked about with the professor? You have to believe in the strength of our obsession with handsome men. Li Tao smiled cheekily. The professor brought him to the extremely expensive cafeteria in front for a meal. A female classmate happened to overhear it. As expected of the school hunk, senior brother's project is very famous. Shui Yaoyao declined to comment. Chapter 1675. Take pictures. Shui Yaoyao furrowed her brows. It's not convenient with the professor around. Li Tao thought for a moment and chuckled. That's true, but if it's possible, take one. I'm not forcing it, I just want to see a handsome guy. Shui Yaoyao knew her roommate's personality and smiled. I'll definitely take one if there's a chance. After all, I'm a fan of handsome guys. Right. The two girls' voices became softer and softer, disappearing in the wind, just like all the freshmen. Liking to look at handsome men was a very normal thing. On the other side, in the cafeteria, the professor also realized how charming his new student was. He chuckled lightly and said, After you came, the girls of C University have a new goal. Even when we're having a meal, they can gather in a circle. Your dad was still worried about you finding a girlfriend, but I don't think he has to worry at all. I didn't know Uncle Bai was here at first, and was waiting for the school to send the documents. The person sat with his back to the light. Even though he was wearing an ordinary teaching assistant uniform, it couldn't hide his merchant aura. He exuded a noble aura. Fortunately, I came. Professor Bai smiled again. With your professionalism, you can handle it yourself. I'm curious, don't you think it's a pity that you transferred to C University in such a hurry? Your major is the most popular in a university. I'm here to be a teaching assistant, there's nothing to pity. The person placed his chopsticks down. Professor Bai arched a brow. Do you think I'll believe you? All right, I'll explain. Regardless of the time or identity, the person still had the aura of a playboy. I'm here to chase someone. Professor Bai was slightly stunned. Chase someone? You're chasing someone? The person replied with a MMH. When he laughed, the girls below really wanted to take pictures. Professor Bai's curiosity grew. Who exactly is it that made you chase after her across provinces? RC University's freshman this year? Didn't you never chase anyone in the past? You even said it's fun to be chased. The person lowered his eyes. I wasn't sensible in the past. That's not simple. To be able to make you feel that you're insensible. I want to see who you're chasing. Professor Bai smiled and took a sip of tea. Your dad doesn't know, right? The man's eyes paused. I don't know. I didn't want to tell him. When Professor Bai saw this, he stopped asking questions. After all, he knew the relationship between the father and son. He was indeed very nervous. Well, we're almost done eating. I'll take you to see our project. Didn't you say that you're interested in the game development? Professor Bai stood up first. That person also followed. He was wearing a teaching assistant's uniform, and he forcibly made himself look like a noble. In the studio where he was working on a project, everyone was cleaning up. This was really the norm. After all, when they were making a game, hygiene and whatnot, for men like them, they would ignore it if they could. If he had the time, he might as well write another program. Of course, after Junior Yao Yao came, she was already much better. However, they could not withstand their bad luck. Now the professor is coming. In order to let the professor know, and also to let the legendary outstanding teaching assistant, who could defeat their fourth teacher, know, their project wasn't something that could be done by just anyone. Therefore, they couldn't slack off in terms of hygiene. Thus, there were people who cleaned up, and there were people who kept watch. Chapter 1676. Are you guys done packing? They're here. Cough, what's the rush? Calm down, calm down. Let Four and Sister Yao Yao welcome the guests first. Shui Yao Yao was also speechless at the word welcome. They still had to collect the trash at the back. Indeed, they had to go out and exchange some pleasantries. Lin Yang put down the things in his hands and looked up at Shui Yao Yao. Let's go out. MH. Shui Yao Yao put down the rag, wiped her hands and took the phone over. There was a basic version of the game on it. Outside the studio, Professor Bai was still showing off to the teaching assistant next to him. Look, RC University students know more about life than your university students. These small plants are all for them to live in. The teaching assistant glanced at it, a playboy smile hanging on his lips. Uncle Bai, the programmers don't even have time to clean up. It's impossible for them to have the time to plant flowers and plants. These should have been moved over from somewhere else. Don't they have the little bow that girls like? It looks like they were moved from the girls' dormitory. Professor Bai paused when he heard this. The teaching assistant smiled. I shouldn't have exposed it. Professor Bai was about to speak. A voice came from the other side. Professor. It was his favorite student. Professor Bai looked up. What are you guys doing? We're here to pick you and the teaching assistant up. Lin Yang smiled too, his gaze landing on the slender figure. These plants were indeed moved from the girls' dormitory. There's one more girl in our team now. Professor Bai was amused. I knew it, you know how to live well. However, the handsome teaching assistant beside him didn't say much. He just fixed his gaze on one person. All the light seemed to scatter in his eyes, like the flowing gold of time. Compared to before, there were many more emotions, but his voice was indifferent. I know. I'm here for the girl in your team. Shui Yao Yao stood there, looking at the new teaching assistant who was being talked about like wildfire. Her mind was blank. There was almost no image. How could it be him? This was Shui Yao Yao's only thought at the moment. But now she was different from before. Hence, she didn't show anything. Relatively speaking. Lin Yang's hand paused. He looked at the person beside him, then at the figure standing in the light. The smile on his face gradually faded. It was because of the ambiguous relationship between the two of them, even if they weren't standing together. But he still felt as if there was a line that couldn't be cut. Professor Bai was already helpless. Even if this kid was chasing after someone, could he not be so straightforward? Cough. As a teacher, Professor Bai coughed lightly. All right, Jiangzhua, don't bring your tricks to C University. Come over, I'll introduce you to someone. Jiangzhua smiled and walked out of the light. At this moment, Shui Yao Yao could see him more clearly. From his eyes to his face, everything was crystal clear. There's no need for introductions. Jiangzhua glanced up. I did a background check before coming. The Lin family's young master has excellent results in school, and is the student you are most proud of. Professor Bai really wanted to teach this brat a lesson. Jiangzhua had already stretched his hand out. Jiangzhua, I'll be your teaching assistant in the future and also the person following up on your project. The etiquette of the Jiang family was very good. If there was a comparison between the two, Jiangzhua was a more three-dimensional person, probably because of the strong contradictory aura around him. Chapter 1677. He lifted his eyes and looked at Shui Yaoyao, then he smiled. The summer was bright, but it couldn't be compared to his eyes. You seem to have become prettier again. Did you lose weight? Professor Bai didn't want to say anything else. They were all here. Didn't he know how to restrain himself? A certain someone didn't know how to restrain herself. He could only smile. Why are you trying to get close to her? But it was rare for a girl to be as gentle as ever when she saw this playboy. Professor Bai couldn't help but glance in Shui Yaoyao's direction. Jiangzhua's smile was mixed with many other things. You haven't seen her, so you don't know. She is my sister. How can this be considered getting close to her? Sister? Not only Professor Bai, but even the few people eavesdropping at the door were shocked. That amazing newcomer, that handsome teaching assistant who was even better than Old Four, was Sister Yaoyao's brother? What kind of twist of fate was this? To have such an elder brother-in-law. Old Four, your road to love is definitely not easy. Needless to say, these people were thinking too much. But it had to be admitted that when Lin Yang heard this, he heaved a sigh of relief. Only Shui Yaoyao didn't expect him to say this. After all, he had never admitted that she was his sister. He also never admitted that her mother married into the Jiang family. In this current situation, it had never happened. So much so that Shui Yaoyao didn't know what to say. The excuse that she had thought of before was that they were just ordinary friends, but it was no longer useful now. Professor Bai had a sudden realization. So you are. He paused here. After all, what he said next would touch on other people's family affairs. He smiled and continued. You're really promising. The people who came into this project are all elites. Come, tell me, which area are you in charge of? Shui Yaoyao was very grateful to Professor Bai for leading the topic on the right track. I am the project tester, mainly testing some of the game's operations, experience and interest. From there, I will find small bugs in the operations and increase the difficulty. Professor Bai listened with great interest. He was usually more technical and wasn't good at application. And most professors were academic. Now that he saw these models and the initial background as well as the game's website beta, he found it interesting. The gentlemen agreed that their labors were fruitful. Even when Professor Bai was inspecting it, one of them kicked the garbage bag inside. But that was not the point. Most importantly, Professor Bai had left. The teaching assistant who caused a sensation did not leave. He smirked, took off his jacket, and looked over at them. For some reason, they were clearly of the same age. This person seemed to have an invisible aura. Do you have time? I don't think we need to clean up again. Ha 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 ha. The people who were exposed laughed. Yes, assistant professor, do you have any advice? Jiangzhua was a businessman and knew how to read people's minds. How can it be advice? As Yaoyao's brother, I would like to treat you to a meal. I came a few days late, and I have to thank you for taking care of her for me. Treat me to a meal. Yaoyao's brother was also a teaching assistant. He would definitely go. Ha ha ha. Why are you being so polite? He had to be humble. Chapter 1678. He was starving. Didn't he just finish his meal in the cafeteria? Shui Yaoyao lowered her gaze, not saying a word. She had a rough idea of what was going on. But what she didn't understand was why he would suddenly do all this for her. When the others heard that Jiangzhua was Yaoyao's brother, they were different from before and were extremely passionate. In that case, we'll accept your invitation and accept your meal. Jiangzhua smiled. Think about what to eat. There's no need to think. It's our usual rule, skewers. We only got to know Junior Yaoyao when we ate skewers. Shui Yaoyao, who was called out, couldn't reject him. MH. Jiangzhua hooked his jacket and smiled at Shui Yaoyao. Yaoyao, call your roommates over so I can get to know them. Shui Yaoyao was about to speak. The senior beside her said. Yes, 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 call Li Tao and the others over. We have been too busy these few days. We can still play games if we sit together. Shui Yaoyao glanced over. Jiang's was smiled like a peach blossom. Indeed, there was no other way. After all, he was using her brother's identity. After the other 3 roommates received the call, they naturally agreed. After all, the 2 roommates had a good relationship. But most importantly, the senior said, Yaoyao's brother wants to treat us to a meal. All the more reason for them to go. But the siblings were in the same university. It was quite fated. Moreover, the younger sister came before the older brother, which was something they couldn't understand at first. When they entered the skewer's shop, they saw the school hunk and a handsome man who looked like they were going to tear a mango apart. They were truly amazed by her beauty. That person had a pair of long and narrow eyes that looked like peach blossoms. When he looked at them again, his lips curled into a smile. You guys are Yaoyao's roommates, right? I'm her brother, and also the new teaching assistant. New teaching assistant? Li Tao felt like she couldn't breathe. If she were to take a photo and post it on the school intranet, there would be many people watching. Sure enough, the school's intranet didn't lie. Her beloved teaching assistant Prince Charming was really handsome. Li Tao tugged at Shui Yaoyao's sleeves and leaned over to whisper, Yaoyao, you're really amazing. I originally wanted you to secretly help me take a photo of my teaching idol. Now I've even seen him in person, and he even wants to treat us to a meal. Most importantly, he's actually your brother. Shui Yaoyao calmed herself down. It's a long story. It's not what you think. You actually have such a brother. No wonder you always say you look average. Li Tao understood. Actually, you're very pretty. It's just that your brother is too handsome. I don't think you two are siblings. Shui Yaoyao replied with a and didn't explain further. The senior brothers on the other side had already taken out the skewers. Come sit. Shui Yaoyao wanted to sit on the right like before. Unexpectedly, Li Tao was very sensible. You siblings should sit together. Shui Yaoyao glanced at Jiangzhua, whose collar was slightly unbuttoned, revealing his collarbone. She deeply felt that her brother's excuse was useless. There were indeed many things that couldn't be said. Even though he was sitting in such a small shop, his Jiang family aura didn't diminish at all. But what changed was something that Shui Yaoyao couldn't explain. Yaoyao, hurry and sit, I'll go get the sauce. Chapter 1679. He shrugged. When the heat came, Shui Yaoyao looked up. Jiangzhua happened to look over, his eyes deep and shallow. It was easy to remember how he looked when he wasn't in front of others. It wasn't easy to get rid of a person's imprint. Shui Yaoyao lowered her eyes, thinking about how to talk to him. He asked while eating, is the teaching assistant's surname Shui too? Shui Yaoyao paused. Someone finally noticed the problem. It can't be. Li Tao recalled the information she gathered. I heard his surname is Jiang. Jiang then Yaoyao. The seniors were confused. They didn't say they were cousins, right? Jiangzhua smiled. I follow my father's surname. Yaoyao follows my mother's surname. He wasn't wrong. Yaoyao had started following her mother's surname when she was a few years old. But that wasn't the right explanation. Shui Yaoyao looked up. Li Tao laughed. Yaoyao, your family is really trendy. If I have children in the future, one will follow my father's surname, and the other will follow my mother's surname. Shui Yaoyao looked at the people on the table, not saying that they were going to start a family. It wasn't that she was embarrassed, but the atmosphere wasn't suitable. Jiangzhua sat beside her. After taking the skewers, he removed them one by one and placed the tender beef in her bowl. Everyone was eating, but after seeing his actions, the person on the other side paused again. Li Tao exclaimed, as expected, big brothers are good to others. My brother never puts food in my bowl. He always snatches my braised pork at home. Yaoyao, your brother treats you so well. This way, Shui Yaoyao couldn't put the beef back. Moreover, she really liked beef. In the past, when they ate together, Highness Jiu would snatch it for her. Miss them. Jiangzhua lowered his face, his voice faint. If you do go overseas. She had been here for so long. Her longing had always been suppressed deeply. But at this moment, someone seemed to understand her. Even the person's next sentence was the same as before. But I advise you not to appear in front of that person. You know how jealous some people can be. Shui Yaoyao replied, placing the beef in her mouth. It was delicious. Probably because there was someone talking to her about them. She had planned to have a good chat with him after dinner. However, the other party did not seem to be his usual self, and did not give her a chance to talk to him alone. Instead, when she sent them back to the dormitory, she smiled at her roommates. Yao Yao, I will have to trouble you. Li Tao was now the most loyal teaching assistant fan. She decisively threw the school hunk aside. Sure enough, she still liked this kind of man who looked bad but was actually a siscon. Jiangzhu knew that Yao Yao wanted to talk to him, but he didn't because he wanted to give himself a chance. He would stay by her side, including getting rid of all those who had designs on her. It was impossible for him to become kind in this life. No one would be able to accept the method of chasing after someone. But he would not force her like before. If she didn't like him showing up, he wouldn't show up. Whatever she liked, he would give her. In the following days, that was exactly what Jiangzhu did. So when Shui Yaoyao pushed open the door to the dormitory, she felt a chill run down her spine. Chapter 1680. Shui Yaoyao didn't speak, just looking at the fruits. She liked every single one of them. She thought he wouldn't remember the things she said. After all, when she had told him about it, she had been very, very fat. At that time, no one would have noticed what she had said, done or liked. Yaoyao. Li Tao glanced down. Shui Yaoyao came back to her senses and replied. MH. Li Tao sighed. It's indeed stressful to have such an outstanding brother. Previously, those people asked me how to get close to you, so that I could get the teaching assistant's contact details. Shui Yaoyao smiled. There were people who asked me for it in the past. But they wouldn't have been so nice. Li Tao continued. But the teaching assistant seems to be afraid of causing trouble for you. I saw him tell a girl not to disturb you and she almost cried. Shui Yaoyao glanced down, wanting to avoid this topic. But she saw the figure standing under the tree in her dormitory. He was slender and lazy, his playboy aura couldn't be changed. But this time, he was standing there alone. He lifted his lids, seemingly looking in the direction of her dormitory. The falling leaves fell on his black hair, but he lifted his hand to remove them. He didn't leave, instead he stood against the tree. Shui Yaoyao lowered her lids, reaching out to pull the curtains. She wasn't sure if it had rained that day. It also showed him her attitude. Jiangzhu didn't appear the next day. But the fruits arrived and there were 4 more desserts. Her roommates ate happily. He has a sister complex. He definitely has a sister complex. If Yaoyao falls in love in the future, do you think the teaching assistant will beat that guy up? With such an outstanding brother like the teaching assistant, those who want to chase Yaoyao will have to consider if they are qualified. Li Tao smiled, touching Yaoyao's shoulder. Look, there is someone who has considered and feels that he is suitable. Yaoyao, our school hunk senior invited you in the game again. Work test. Shui Yaoyao went online after saying this. She had been looking for the small bug, as well as the pin jamming. This went on for more than an hour. After Li Tao and the others washed the clothes, they even bought the food. When they walked in, they tugged at her sleeves. Yaoyao, do you know? Does he have a fever? Shui Yaoyao's hand froze. Fever? Yes, I heard it's very serious. I don't know where he got caught in the rain yesterday. Li Tao's voice was low. He seems to be in the infirmary now. The classmates are all saying. Yaoyao, did your brother not tell you about the fever because he was afraid that you would worry? Shui Yaoyao's eyes darkened. Li Tao's voice was getting further and further away. No wonder the teaching assistant didn't appear today. Shui Yaoyao stood up and put aside her work for a while. I'm going to the infirmary to see him. Yes, yes. Go. After all, he was her biological brother. It would be strange if he did not go. Shui Yaoyao didn't explain their relationship. On the other hand, the school hunk on the other end of the line had asked her out for a meal. Shui Yaoyao replied. The teaching assistant is sick. I'm going to see him. Teaching assistant? This form of address made Lin Yang's fingers pause. He smiled. I don't think I've ever heard you call teaching assistant brother. Chapter 1681. Shui Yaoyao's words caused Lin Yang's gaze to freeze. The intuition that surged in his heart when he first saw that person came back. That person liked Yao Yao just like him. No matter how one tried to hide it, one's gaze couldn't be controlled. From the moment that person appeared, he only had eyes for Yao Yao. Originally, when he heard that he was her brother, he heaved a sigh of relief. From the looks of it now, that wasn't the case. Did Yao Yao know? Her brother, who wasn't related by blood, liked her. For some reason, Lin Yang felt that she knew. Otherwise, with her personality, why would she be so distant from her brother? Lin Yang had always felt that it was better to get closer slowly. But now he didn't think so. Lin Yang lowered his gaze, his handsome face, his aura retro. Yao Yao, let's meet. Shui Yao Yao furrowed her brows. Now. Lin Yang, now. Shui Yao Yao thought for a moment and said, Senior, do you need me for work? Lin Yang chuckled. No, I want to treat you to a meal. Shui Yao Yao replied with a voice message. I'm sorry, Senior, I have something to do. If it's not work, I won't be going. Lin Yang didn't give up on the idea. Then let's meet after class tomorrow. I'll wait for you in the library. Okay. Shui Yao Yao had other things on her mind, and didn't think much about it. She agreed casually. After all, they would often meet in private for data feedback. She was thinking about how to get into the teaching assistant's dormitory as a student. Shui Yao Yao had already been to the infirmary and received a definite answer. The school doctor also said that it was related to the rain. The fever is too serious and she needs to rest more. After Shui Yao Yao thanked him, she went to the staff dormitory. It was on the second floor of the old campus. C University was such a big university, there wouldn't be only a few teaching assistants. Shui Yao Yao was carrying some medicine and fruit she bought. If it really didn't work, she would probably ask someone else to send it up as a family member. It was all thanks to her identity as a family member. Isn't this teaching assistant Zhang's sister? Are you here to see your brother? Someone walked down from upstairs and smiled when he saw Shui Yao Yao. Shui Yao Yao hummed and asked, Do you know which room my brother is in? The first one on the left. I live with him. That person smiled faintly. I was just about to go get some medicine for him. Since you're here, I don't have to waste my time. I still have a courseware to write in a while, so I'll go straight to the library. Yao Yao stepped aside. Sorry to trouble you. We're all interning together. It's not troublesome at all. However, your brother is an exception. After saying that, the man waved his hand and left. Shui Yao Yao carried the things upstairs. Because it was in the old campus, the walls were modeled, and the stairs were of the same design as before. There was a slight noise when one stepped on it. There were 4 rooms in the hallway. Shui Yao Yao found the one on the far left and knocked on the door. No one answered. Shui Yao Yao furrowed her brows. According to the teaching assistant, there should be someone inside. Was it very serious? At this thought, Shui Yao Yao knocked on the door a few more times. Only then did he hear footsteps. Chapter 1682. Jiang Zhua, who thought it was his roommate who had returned, fell silent when he saw Shui Yao Yao standing outside the door. Shui Yao Yao looked at him. She didn't even need to take his temperature to know that his fever hadn't subsided. She didn't bother to argue and directly pulled him to the bedside. Lie down and take your temperature. If it's too high, go back to the infirmary. If it's not, drink your medicine. I'll get you some water. Jiang Zhua felt dizzy from her pull. When she let go, he lowered his eyes and looked at his wrist. It had been too long. It really had been too long. She took the initiative to touch him. She didn't want to avoid him every time she saw him. The interval between these events was too long. Jiang Zhua glanced over at the busy figure. His thin lips were pale and he didn't have the strength to speak. If she hadn't kept knocking, Jiang Zhua probably wouldn't have stood up. Now that he thought about it, he was lucky that he had stood up and opened the door. When Shui Yao Yao walked back, besides medicine and hot water, She also wet a towel and placed it on his forehead. Jiangzhou finally understood why Qin Mo liked to use the trick of injuring himself. But until now, he didn't want to use any tricks on her. If she felt that it was hurting him, in that case, he would just stay there quietly. As long as no one came close, it would be fine. Probably no one understood why he was panicking. He was afraid that she would suddenly have a new life in university, a life that didn't include him. And he knew what the school hunk had in mind for her. If he was just a kid, it wouldn't have mattered. But he could actually convince her to play games again. Jiangzhou was afraid. He didn't even have time to arrange things at home. He would rather give up the teaching assistant title and come over. Even if he had to face the possibility that he might really lose her every day. It seemed better than letting his imagination run wild. But he still couldn't take it. She ate with that person, did game tests with him, and talked about things he might not understand. Now he regretted not asking Qin Mo to teach him how to play games. But there was no medicine for regret in this world. He was a businessman. There was a fundamental difference between him and people like them who had dreams in their hearts. But Jiangzhou had been thinking about it all this time. But he had never told her. His dream was to be with her. Want to get a person. He missed her so much. That's why he did it when he didn't know anything. I feel betrayed. When they wanted to retain him, they would use the most instinctive business methods. He wanted to ask her if she could start over. She didn't have to become so thin. Actually, whether she was pretty or not, in his eyes, it was all about her. Jiangzhou was really muddle-headed from the fever. Shui Yaoyao sat beside him. When she saw the temperature on the thermometer, she wanted to pull him up, but she couldn't. She could only make him drink the medicine, and then use the physical cooling method. Fortunately, she had asked for alcohol from the infirmary. There was a refrigerator in the teaching assistant's dorm, and there was ice underneath. She wrapped a big bag and placed it on Jiangzhu's forehead, moving it back and forth to lower the temperature. He probably sensed that someone was approaching him. Jiangzhou opened his eyes, his peach blossom eyes beautiful. He held her hand. Is it Fat Yao Yao? That's what he called her then. Shui Yaoyao replied, MMH. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.